All right.
All right, we're set.
All right. Good evening. My name is Ted Nitza. I'm the chair of the Village Environmental Policy Board. This is our meeting for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. I'll have everybody introduce themselves real quick if we could. Jonathan.
My name is Jonathan Coleman. I'm a member of the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board.
And then Don.
Don Kerr, and I'm a liaison from the EPB to the Planning Board.
And then Riley, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
My name is Riley Corzine, and I'm a research on the Village of New Paltz Environmental Board.
Great. And then Ariana.
Ariana Basco. I'm a resident of New Paltz, the assistant to the mayor and the village board, and the secretary to the EPB.
Great. All right. So we do have quorum for this evening, and we'll go ahead and proceed with our meeting. The meeting's called to order. Please note that in the highlighted portion on the shared screen is an email address. If anyone has any email questions, please feel free to email us at that environment@villagenewpaltz.org. We all get it, and when we can address the questions or comments that come in. We usually have the opportunity for the public to comment as one of our first things. It is second on our agenda, but not seeing any members from the public. I'll just remind everyone that the email address is there at any time, not just during the meetings. Next item is public hearings. We don't have anything scheduled for this evening for public hearings. Administrative actions. The agenda has been out. There's been a couple of changes to it, but it is shown on your screen. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Second.
All right, it's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved for this evening. We do have minutes from April 13th, 2021, our last meeting. Ariana did a great job on them. I looked at them, didn't see any things I wanted to change. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our April 13th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the approval of the minutes from April 13th, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, payment of claims. I'm not aware of any claims that we have this evening. Announcements. Anyone have any announcements?
Under payment of claims, we do have, I think, money unspent in the budget, and I believe we lose it when the new budget year comes along. So there's $400 pledged to Bee City, I believe. We have to find some way to spend that in the next month. Just bookkeeping.
Ariana, how would that work? It'd be solely a reimbursement, right? It'd have to be reimbursed.
Yeah, so well, if there's a purchase that the village can make directly, we can totally do that. You don't have to spend money and be reimbursed in order to spend this money. So if we, for example, the money that we said that we would give to Bee City, if we could have an invoice given to us from Future Fruits or wherever the plants will be coming from or other items that might be happening, then we can pay them directly. It might also involve getting a W-9 from them. There's little things like that, but Riley, correct me if I'm wrong, but May 29th is supposed to be the planting day. So
Correct.
We will get in right under the wire of that fiscal year. So as long as we buy everything prior to that day, we're good to go.
Okay, cool.
I can tell Future Fruits to send you the payment information.
That would be awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. I'm glad that, thanks for the reminder, Don. I'm glad we can get that in before the end of the year. Any other announcement or any other payment of claims? Next item is announcements then. Any other announcements? I have an unofficial, well, I don't have the official capacity to mention it, but I did learn this week that the New Paltz Regatta is not going to be held this year, but a date is set for next year. So those that have been involved in the past, from what I understand, it will be taking place next year in June of 2022. I look forward to it coming back as an event. Any other announcements? All right, next item is Village Planning Board updates and discussion. Don is our liaison to the Planning Board. Don, what can you catch us up on?
I didn't attend the last planning board meeting, but I watched it last night on YouTube. And well, I have no life, you know. So most of the meeting was dedicated to the New Paltz Apartments project. So let me just take a couple minutes, and I know it's kind of dry, but this is a huge project going up. And something I hadn't understood, there's only a part of it that's in the village that they're looking to annex to the village. And that would be on the side of the project that would allow them to do the hooked up to the water and wastewater plant. Much of the project, and I have to double check the maps, but in much of the projects, the actual housing units will remain in the town, which means they don't have to follow the village affordable housing law. But that's another committee. So what they're doing now is looking at what engineering firms and consultants to hire. And they're going to try and make that decision and make those commitments at their next meeting. Specifically, they are looking to hire an environmental engineer to advise on things like species and wetlands. If anyone knows any environmental engineering firms that specialize in things like that, species and wetlands, they are, actively considering consultants. They're also looking for a consultant on architectural and historical issues. The water and wastewater stuff that I've been concerned about will be handled by the village engineer, Bernier and Larios, who has a long relationship. They're on retainer with the village. So that's who will be doing that part of the project. A couple concerns. The scope of work said that there were no wetlands to be disturbed. And Rachel Lagatka, who we know as a former member here, pointed out that there's streams and wetlands all over that property. They agreed that they would have a surveyor come in and would also have the Army Corps of Engineer come in to review the surveyor's work to make sure that whatever was said about wetlands was accurate. The rule is they have to create 2 times as many new wetlands as they would disturb in this project. So that's going to be a big consideration. I wanted to ask, there's over an acre of parking lot in this proposal, I think 1.3 acres. And I was wondering if the EPB might be interested in recommending that they go with as many, avoid impervious surfaces as much as possible. There's ways to do pavement in parking lots where the stormwater can go through the cracks. And I think that's something that, might be in our wheelhouse as far as making suggestions. The site is a former apple orchard, so there will be testing for pesticides in the soil. And let's see. Okay, now I've been talking a couple meetings about the capacity of the wastewater plant in conjunction with this project and the Trans Hudson project and Zero Place and the Pit project and all these large projects we're looking at. I want to make sure that that we can have a good handle on the capacity of our wastewater plant and advise the village board well. So I asked the planning board attorney was asked, our purview is seeker. That's what we get to advise the village board on. And I asked if future Village of New Paltz budget concerns is part of the seeker. And he indicated it would be. So within our responsibility to advise on seeker and in conjunction with the desire to know what's going on with the wastewater plant, that is a legitimate part of our purview as defined by the planning board attorney. And Fiona, last meeting, had wanted to make sure that if we asked for a wastewater treatment capacity study, that we wouldn't be stepping on anyone's toes, that there wasn't any other plans or it wouldn't be covered by some other part of the process. And we all got the copy of the response from the planning board attorney, Rick Golden, that yes, they will look at this particular project and every project in a silo, but not in a cumulative way. And that's the concern. If you look at these things one off, you may miss the big picture. So I did email to folks a proposal, I guess probably about a half hour before the meeting started. And I wanted to ask the chair when it might be appropriate within the meeting to discuss that proposal.
Well, I think based on the limitations on time, and I saw your email. I actually like it. So I think, I appreciate what you sent and ahead of time, and I think we can talk about it. But normally, I think we'd wait till new business. But I think once we're done with your update, we could entertain at least two motions that I've heard you mention here in your description so far.
Thank you. Well, I'm done.
Okay, so let me ask about the process, the overall process. Was there? I mean, I remember a public hearing being scheduled. Is that right? Or
There is a, let's see, a public something. Hold on.
yeah,
A public hearing on the scope,
yeah,
a public scoping section. Yes, that's what it's called.
Okay.
And the scope is the document they're looking at that says, here's what you will study for with regard to, seeker and the planning process.
right. Okay, so do you know when that public hearing is scheduled?
No, it will be scheduled. They want to make sure that they give people enough time, enough warning. Maybe 2 weeks after the next planning board meeting would be probably the earliest it would happen. So earliest would be 3 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now.
Okay, all right. Well, let me propose it like this. When we've gone through projects like this with the town's environmental conservation board, the town's environmental conservation board has weighed in on that topic. Is the scope of what's being examined, the scoping study, is it enough? And they, the ENCB has submitted a letter and submitted it and read it into the record as part of the public hearing about any kind of shortcomings or additional items or special items that they want examined as part of that. I know we haven't discussed it yet, but I think our plans can be to comment or prepare a written statement for that public hearing on the scoping study step of this, where we can mention stormwater, wastewater treatment plant, and any other items that we see as maybe not being mentioned enough or not being mentioned in the existing scoping study. My question is that scoping study something that we've been sent yet, or are they still waiting to submit it?
Well, there's two answers to that question. I got the draft copy and sent it immediately to the Environmental Policy Board. And then about 5 minutes later, got an email from Rick Golden, the attorney, saying, please don't distribute this yet. So, because it was still in draft form. There is a draft document which had been sent to the EPB, but I guess prematurely, but that's the document which was publicly discussed at the planning board meeting. So I believe it's out there in the public domain at this point. So I think it's appropriate at this point, since the public's seen it, I can resend that properly to the Environmental Policy Board, even though it was already done once. I don't know whether I cautioned you not to read it or something after it was sent.
All right. Okay.
So Ted, your preference would be to address these issues within the public hearing process as opposed to by proposal?
No, I think, I'm speaking just about the letter. I think it's important that if the scoping study is available, that we as an environmental policy board review it, and much like the ENCB does, submit comments either at the public hearing or ahead of time as to any items. And that could include the things you've mentioned, but I don't want that to take away from what you're proposing to propose by motion separately at the end of your briefing on this topic.
Okay. Well, I guess I will.
Okay, so let me. I apologize, but I don't understand what the second is being hinted that Attorney Golden at the meeting said that there'll be contemplation of next steps and there'll be a revised draft scope.
I believe that's what happened at the meeting I watched last night. The meeting that took place a week ago.
Yeah, that's what Don is referring to when he said the thing that he sent around that was the draft is what these minutes are referring to as well. Yeah.
Okay. It's still called a draft. I think they're going to keep working on this draft over the next couple of meetings, as I understand the process. This is a long, drawn out process. And I think the hiring of the consultants, which I referenced earlier, those consultants are to tell the planning board what to look for and what questions to ask. So as part of preparing the final scoping documents, it's going to be a long process. If they haven't hired those consultants yet, it's not going to happen next week.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, then what I would suggest is that we continue to keep an eye on it, but I do think it's appropriate for us to comment in once the scoping study is finalized and before the public hearing. Again, much like the process that the NCB goes through.
No, that might be 6 months from now, but that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Don? You mentioned Stewart's. Looks like the light poles are going up, or the traffic lights.
Yeah, well, they dug the hole, they put in the concrete and the metal supports. It's covered up with a tarp now at the end of the day, but I drive by there on the way to and from work, so I've been watching the work. It looks like they're ready to stick that sucker in.
Right. Okay. Any other things from the meeting?
No, there was a minor subdivision discussed, which wouldn't be of interest to the EPB.
All right. And no updates on the pit project or the old Magic Muffins place on Main Street or any of the other facilities?
The pit project had been discussed at the previous meeting, and I'm pretty sure I sent you all an email on that. They still have to come back with some real detailed information before this can really move forward. They're still talking conceptually. They haven't gotten down into real plans that the planning board can comment on yet. So that's still under discussion.
Okay. All right. Okay, Don, you want to offer your motions or motion?
Well, number one, I wanted to make a motion that the EPB recommend to the village board, because we can only advise the village board, not the planning board, to advise the planning board to minimize the impervious surfaces currently set at 1.3 acres for the new Paul's Apartments project.
I'll second.
And
Open for discussion. I think the key words, Don, I was hearing was we're requesting or advising, and we're asking them to minimize it if they can. We're not asking to reduce it or telling them that they can't have their parking lot. That's not accurate?
oh yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, there are ways of doing roads and parking lots that allow grass to that have holes in them, allow grass to come up and storm water to drain.
Yeah, permeable pavements and permeable pavers being used.
That's the term I'm looking for. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion, questions about the motion? I'll take a vote then. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Don, you want to offer a second motion?
Yeah, and I wrote out a rationale that the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board is legally charged with advising the Board of Trustees on issues related to seeker and projects before the Planning Board, which include water and wastewater. Projects such as Zero Place, Stewart Shops, and proposed projects such as the Pit, Trans Hudson, and New Paltz Apartments will face analysis of water and sewer on a case-by-case basis. The EPB requests an additional perspective in order for us to effectively advise the Board of Trustees. This information could serve as a living document to allow for thoughtful planning and informed advice from EPB in years to come. And the actual proposal says EPB requests professional analysis of wastewater plant capacity, including A, pre-pandemic peak level of usage, and B, a comprehensive estimate of remaining capacity after all projects in process and proposed are online. Breathe.
All right. Motion's been offered. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on it? Other than Don had a pretty good preamble with it. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Don, anything else from planning board as an update?
That was enough.
Okay. So next item is a collaboration report, Town's Environmental Conservation Board. I also serve on the Town's Environmental Conservation Board as a member. One of the things that I do is update each of the respective boards on what's going on in the other for increased awareness and collaboration attempts. So I do have the agenda from our last meeting, the town's last meeting, that was April 21st. We don't have our May meeting until next week or the week after. The biggest topic was discussion of the updated proposed critical environmental area. And if I could, I'm going to share that map now. Ariana, can you allow me to share, please? There we go. All right,
There
so
you
those
go.
that are aware of the process, this is the most updated, and this is what's currently being proposed to the town, and it was presented a couple of nights ago, maybe last night, to the town. And the town will say accepted the proposal, not approved it, but accepted it, and it's set May 20th for a public hearing on this proposed critical environmental area. The green area is is the Gunk Ridge area, and the Goldenrod area is the Plutarch Woods and wetlands. Those are the two areas that are currently being proposed for the town. Again, public hearing is May 20th. The other projects that were talked or discussed as from a planning board perspective, Homeland Towers continues to work through the draft environmental impact statement. There is a Tesla battery station proposed for 271 Main Street, which is up by Ohioville. And we discussed the planning board liaison schedule. We did talk about the New Paltz Apartments and then excavation that's going on along Horsenden Road. The wetlands law brochure for the town is near complete, will be available soon. There's a climate smart update, and then the natural resource inventory process is almost complete. The final report is available and is working its way through the final approvals. The biggest topic discussed at the last meeting was the critical environmental areas, and then also excavation along Horsenden Road, which didn't turn into a motion or anything like that. It was more of an update. So those are the items for the Conservation Board with the town. Any questions regarding that?
Thanks, Ed. Hey, my 6 o'clock was moved to 6:10. I've got 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes, great. I'm gonna stop sharing. The next item is reports. First item from that is plastic bags in the village and town. I do think we're gonna have to keep an eye on the topic here in the near future. Enforcement is back. Everything is back in effect from it post-COVID. And I think there may be some education or some updates that we'll need to add, because it'll apply to all the village and the town areas at the state law level, which is, again, now in effect. Next item is Bee City and the Village Hall Ecoscaping Project. Riley is here. Riley, do you want to go ahead and give us an update?
Well, we already talked a little bit about the budget. I will make sure to have Future Fruits draft a bill that will either go to me and I'll give that to you, or maybe directly. But on the 29th, yes, there will be a planting event at the Village Hall that is open to the public. So if anybody's interested in joining that, just remember 12 o'clock p.m. Village Hall, May 29th. Make sure to bring work clothes and shovels. Yeah, not much of an update for this session, but.
Riley, I heard earlier this week that, I'm not sure if I have the term right, the piglets are looking for opportunities to help out. Is there a way you get a message to them that that opportunity is out there if they need help, if you need help?
I'm not aware of what the piglets are.
Oh, I'm sorry. New Paltz High School.
Participation in government.
Yeah, students in
That's
government.
where the pig comes from.
Mhm. Yes, I would be happy to reach out to them. It's in the New Paltz High School.
Yeah, I'll work on getting you a contact name or something with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Directly.
Just shoot me an email with the person I need to contact, and I'd be happy to reach out to them.
Any other questions or concerns for Riley? All right. Next item is composting in the village. Fiona's not here.
Oh, actually,
we'll move on-
sorry, I
Oh,
said I joined in a little late. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But I can just speak briefly about that. So of their 3,500 goal, they have currently reached $3,092 on GoFundMe so far. So right now we're looking at about a $400 difference. And so, so far the GoFundMe has been going quite well. But I guess we maybe would have the option to help amplify that, but I don't know if it would be appropriate for us to post like on the village Facebook or village website, like GoFundMe for this project. So it's just sort of curious if you guys have any feedback about, what you think would be appropriate for us to support them or to draw attention to it. Or maybe, in our next budget cycle, we could set aside something, or I'm open to suggestions there.
Well, one of the things that I just know from the village side is that we can't legally fundraise. So there's always got to be like some other entity that does it for the village. So the village couldn't like post this on the website. But I think like as individuals, everybody should feel free to post it, even if it's saying, I'm an EPB member and we're doing this thing. I think like that's okay. It's, as long as it's not like the elected officials or the the village government itself.
Mm-hmm. I had a feeling that there might be something barring us from, or the village from promoting it, but I would say if anybody knows anybody who has expressed interest in composting, please feel free to pass it along. I could send it to our email group if anybody would like to take a look, but luckily I think that the fundraiser has been going well so far. So hopefully we'll just kind of coast the last $400 and hit the goal soon.
And what'll happen once the goal is met?
So I believe that they've already started some construction. I think it's just financing the rest of it, or I'm not sure if somebody kind of agreed to buy materials for them to get reimbursed. I don't really know how they've configured that.
Any questions or comments? Anything to add for Fiona?
Glad it's going well.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It seems like there's been a lot of small dollar donations, so hopefully that means there's a lot of enthusiasm.
That's great.
Okay. Next item is source of raw water supply study. That's an item that I'm involved with. We have our next meeting coming up this Thursday, 11:30 to 12:30. It's a different time. If you're interested, send an email to us at the environment at Village New Paltz. We can get you involved. Next item is banning regulation for leaf blowers. Alex, do you want to talk about this or update us on this?
Yeah, so I mean, no updates since the last time. Still would love to get a hand, if anyone is interested in helping really make this resolution into, kind of like a guide on, how to, be environmentally friendly in our lawn care and stuff. I was kind of envisioning it being like a super long, awesome, useful tool that could be used by different groups to advocate for, way better legislation and whatnot, and educate, everyone, and not on accident, wind up hurting any, businesses that wouldn't be able to transfer over, right away to, more environmentally friendly stuff. Let's help everyone. So I think, yeah, the resolution, draft with all the parts, that I think should go in there is linked in the agenda. If anyone is into helping out with that, let me know, and I'll keep plugging away at it bit by bit myself too.
All right. So, related, what you're looking for is feedback on things that folks could do instead of using a leaf blower.
Yeah,
Compost
exactly.
in place or other things. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Alex? All right. Okay, that moves us into old business. Review update of idling laws and rules. I think that's still on hold at this point. Last time we talked about budget and spending for the EPB. I don't know that anything has changed. We did earlier this evening pass motion to spend or remind B City to use that up before the end of this month for that. And then any questions on budget or spending? All right. Next item is new business. Assembly Bill 3611. Alex, is this something you can talk us through also? Or Ariana?
I mean, I just added it because we received an email from a woman named Carol, who requested kind of general village support for this bill, but wrote actually just to the B City email address. I think she just thought that would be a good place to start, since if you're pollinator friendly, you're generally anti-pesticides. But I CC'd everybody here in my response to her, and just kind of stuck it on the agenda as something that she requested. Basically, there's a preemption in state law right now that doesn't allow local municipalities to regulate pesticides within like each municipal jurisdiction. And we actually encountered this previously with the village, where like this was something we would have loved to do, and instead passed a policy that stated that we don't use pesticides on village property. So anything that's maintained by the village is not being, there's no chemicals being used. But so if the EVB would like to support this, basically, I think we could either write a letter, or she would probably be happy to give us some template letter that we could put our name on, or we could recommend to the village board that they pass a resolution in support of it. But that's kind of, I don't know what Alex thinks about that, since you're actually on the village board.
Yeah, I wonder why there's not a same as, in both houses. Like there's only the assembly side. It seems like that's like historic too. So I wanted to kind of go back and like read like the history of it, because it's been presented a number of times. So I wonder what is there a barrier at all? Because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes when things try to change the definition of like a kind of municipality, it gets a little more complicated than simply, giving an empowerment and stuff. So I'd like to look into it a little bit more, because I would love for us to have that ability. And so I would totally support, a resolution for sure. But would totally need a little bit of help with that at this point.
Actually, funny you brought up the same as, because Carol and I had a little bit of a back and forth, and I realized she only sent this to me that on Wednesday, May 5th, she said, today our group met with Senator Todd Kaminsky, chair of the New York State Senate Environmental Conservation Committee. We asked him to introduce a same as bill in the Senate. This action would bode well for drawing more attention to the issue. And then she gave some details about going to beyondpesticides.org and look up the state preemption, which is what I linked in the agenda as well. So yeah, apparently there is not yet a same as bill in the Senate. And her group is working towards that.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. As soon as you said it, I was like, I feel like there was something about this.
And good job to Carol for, going and having that meeting with the senator. That's really cool.
Right, being so thorough.
Yeah.
All right, that's good news. So we'll spend the next month then maybe going through this. Each of us can look through it, read it, and we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Sounds
right?
good.
Okay. All right. I'll note for the record that, Don had to leave, but we still have a quorum, Fiona and Jonathan among us. Any other questions or concerns on Assembly Bill 3611? Next item is other items of interest to the EPB. Any other updates, questions, concerns? All right. I think that will conclude our meeting for this evening then. This has been the May 11th, 2021 meeting of the Village of New Paltz Environmental Policy Board meeting. We'll meet again on Tuesday, June 8th, 5:30 p.m. by Zoom, as always on the second Tuesday of the month at 5:30 p.m. Appreciate everyone's attention and interest. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned, and thank you all for attending.
Thanks,